Part 69. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 699. Besides this, is there anything else? Binghua called up some of his own experimental data projections and began to summarize the experimental data sent by Makra World to find what he needed. Fanshan World applied to build the Annihilation class world prototype ship, and the Immortal, the development project of the second-generation demigod armor. Immortals, I didn't expect them to want to do this. Forget it, let's inform the Makra world and hand over the reverse-engineered Eternal Ascended Mechanical Warrior technology to the Fanshan world so that they can avoid detours. Demigod armor, forget it, allocate some computing resources to Fanshan Star World and let them try to develop it for a while. Binghua said casually that the Justice World was not weak in controlling various worlds, so some resources could be concentrated and deployed. There is no shortage of scientific research resources, but there is a shortage of top talents, but Binghua is already focusing on cultivating them in this regard. In fact, the issues reported to Binghua by the Tianjian system are issues that cannot be solved in one world and require the cooperation and coordination of multiple worlds. Although the internal affairs officers of the God's Throne world have the authority to handle these matters, they do not dare to deal with them at will, because the leaders of the various worlds are not easy to deal with. Except for some less important work, almost all the rest will be reported to Binghua. In fact, the workload is not as much as expected. The Queen just sent an urgent message from Dia world. Unknown powerful civilized creatures have appeared around their world. This is the energy reflection signal captured by Dia world's detection equipment. Through the matching results of the database, it is very consistent with the energy reflection band of the third-generation divine body. 3 generations of gods, this is a rare thing. When I left the known universe, only angels, Dino, had the ability to carry out the project of creating 3 generations of gods. But now that Dino has been destroyed, with 3 generations of gods and free time running around the universe, I can't think of any other civilization besides angels. Of course, it is also possible that he is a third-generation god under the Super Seminary. After all, space has never shown up, and we don't know what he is doing. After Binghua finished speaking, he casually asked what Tianjian thought of this matter. Queen, the information is too little for me to give you an answer. Hearing this, Binghua burst into laughter. She always regarded Tianjian as her subordinate unconsciously, but every time Tianjian succeeded in making her wake up immediately, this might be a kind of talent. Forget it, encrypt this message in angel language, send it to Dia world, and let them broadcast it throughout the star field. If it were an angel, he would contact them proactively. Tianjian then successively reported on the situation of each star field in the world of justice, including the establishment of some large-scale projects and the special circumstances encountered during the expansion of each world. In fact, there is no need to go to such trouble at all. Tianjian only needs to organize and package the information and upload it to Binghua. However, Binghua specifically asked Tianjian to give an oral report, which would make Binghua feel that dealing with official duties would at least not be so boring. Gradually, Tianjian stopped asking his queen. She had memorized Binghua's preferences and would spontaneously simplify the boring reports into suitable words for oral narration in advance. Sister Ran, the civilization we passed by just now is so prosperous. Yes. And their civilized system is quite interesting. It is one of the most friendly systems for ordinary people I have ever seen. Well, although I just read some information casually, this civilization is very stable internally, and there are rarely any sharp conflicts. Several angels talked to each other and began to discuss the civilization called Dia just now. Ran also had a good impression of the Dyak civilization, and it was one of the few civilizations she encountered after entering the Chaos Star Sea. However, the previous civilizations were all in chaos and had not yet completed the internal unification of the planet. There were countless conflicts among various classes, races, and cultures. Therefore, Ran and her sisters did not intervene, because there was no way to start, and anyone who helped would be wrong, so it was better not to help. In addition, this was not the sphere of influence of the righteous order, and Angel Ran had no obligation to help them. At this moment, Ran suddenly frowned. She received a wide area message from the Dayak civilization they passed by not long ago. She thought it was some unimportant information. As a result, after Dang Ran read the message, his face suddenly showed a look of surprise, and he quickly shouted to the angel sisters who were still flying forward. "Stop it, stop it! I have news from the Queen." "What? Ran, do you have news about the Queen? Where is the Queen?" Several female angels who were originally discussing the Dayak civilization quickly asked excitedly that they had been wandering in the universe for countless years in order to find the Queen. "Now that we finally have the news, how can we not be excited? Let's go back to the planet right away." After Ran said that, he turned around and flew in the direction of Dia Star. A few hours later, Ran and several angels accompanying him were detected by the orbital defense platform of Dia World, and a warning message was immediately sent out. Ran had no intention of not cooperating with Guao, but for the sake of efficiency, he directly hacked into the communications of Dia World and conveyed her identity information to the command center of the orbital platform. After learning the identity of Ran and his group of angels, the leader of Dia World did not dare to neglect and immediately contacted God's throne world to report the news. And quickly arranged for Ran and a group of angels to enter the Dia World and arranged the best resting place for them. Ran and several sisters did not refuse. As a blue beam of light fell from the sky and landed at the door of the room where Ran and several sisters were resting, Ran and the others finally saw the Queen they had longed for. As soon as Binghua walked out of the teleportation array of the Gate of Time and Space, he saw several extremely familiar faces to him, including Ran, Ming, Ziluo and other digital angels. "How did you find yourself here?" "Queen, we have been looking for you for a long time, but we didn't expect you to come here." Ran took the lead and complained. "I'm tired of seeing the scenery of the known universe. Don't you want to move to a new place and experience more new things? By the way, Ran, how do you have time to come to me? You don't have so much free time in the work of the Holy Left?" "Queen, I told you not to scold me. I am no longer a Holy Leftist." "What? Kesha removed you from your position on the Holy Left?" Binghua frowned slightly. She didn't believe it. She was very familiar with Kesha's behavior and couldn't do such a thing. "No, Queen, I took the initiative to apply. Merlot Heaven has been peaceful in the past few thousand years, and there have been no accidents. However, the new generation of angels who have been transformed have different methods of dealing with us, the older generation of angels, so some minor frictions will inevitably occur. But Queen, you also know that the old members of the Heavenly Sword Legion didn't care much about justice and order. After you left, they gradually felt tired and didn't want to continue fighting endlessly. So many sisters chose to retire, so I resigned from the Holy Left Wing and let a more suitable angel take the position. And without the Queen's Merlot Heaven, I found that I didn't have a strong sense of belonging there. So I'm here to find you, Queen." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 700. Binghua has nothing to say about this. After all, angels are different from some civilizations. Because of their individual strength, the cohesion of their race is not as strong as that of some ordinary civilizations. The reason why Merlot Heaven was able to be established was entirely a characteristic of that era, because at that time there was an idea that all female angels were willing to pursue, calling them to stand up and resist together. However, after driving away the male angels, this slogan has actually lost most of its appeal, not to mention that angels participated in the physical war due to some self-interest reasons. What follows is a righteous order that pushes angels to the top of the universe, but beneath these superficial glories are the unreserved contributions of countless angels. And this just reflects a problem. Angels with long lives do not receive any obvious rewards for their efforts, which makes most angels gradually lose their fighting spirit over time. Of course, there will be some angels who can find the meaning of their lives from these things, but after all, they are only a minority. Binghua had also reported this problem to Kesha, but there was no solution. There were only a few strong people who could sincerely use their power to protect the safety of the weak. However, when Binghua left, Kesha seemed to have found a solution. Ting Ran's words should be those so-called new generation angels. They are not like angels who have everything since they were born. Everything they have is given by the angel civilization, so the moment they accept the power of angels, they naturally regard upholding justice as their lifelong belief. Although there may be exceptions and have an indifferent attitude towards safeguarding justice, these will only be a small number of outliers in the mainstream thinking, which is exactly the opposite of today's Merlot Heavenly Court. Forget it, I won't say anything to you. After all, you yourself don't like to stay in Merlot Heaven, so it's useless even if I force you. Ran immediately became happy when she heard this. She was worried before that the Queen would blame her. However, since you came to the door, I won't let you go. I happen to be short of a few jobs that only high-level angels can do. I wonder if you are interested? Upon hearing this, the ears of Ran and the other female angels present immediately became twitchy, and they focused their attention on what Binghua said next. Unlike Merlot Heavenly Court, this position does not require any official duties to be handled, on the contrary, it is quite relaxing. Just wander around in the world of justice if you have nothing to do. If you see something bad, remember to report it to me. Of course, you can also handle it yourself, and you must not tolerate some evil people. In short, the work content is probably as mentioned above. Are you interested in giving it a try? After Binghua finished describing the work content, he asked aloud whether Ran and the others were willing to accept the job. Binghua respected their opinions. Sounds good. I've had enough of dealing with those trivial matters every day in Merlot Heaven. Queen, the just world should be the civilization you created, right? I feel that some of the ideas and systems here are much better than those of civilizations in the known universe. A female angel named Angel Zio said with emotion. Yes, it was established by me. It was originally just to protect the weak, but I didn't expect it to gradually develop to the scale it is now. After all, it is my hard work, so I naturally want to make it what I want. I believe that if you stay here for a while, you will also like it. By the way, there are people of our race here, but they fled here during the Civil War and don't know much about the Merlot Heavenly Court. If you are interested, you can go and take a look. Binghua smiled and replied, not referring to herself as their queen, but as an ordinary sister. This is also one of the charms of Binghua's personality, with the majesty of a king and the gentleness of an approachable person. This is also the reason why most of the old angels of the Heavenly Sword Legion feel that they have lost a sense of belonging to Merlot Heaven after leaving the leadership of the Queen. Regarding Binghua's invitation, Ran and other angels happily accepted it. In fact, one of the reasons why they did not want to stay in Merlot Heavenly Court was that there were differences of opinion within Merlot Heavenly Court. No matter which side you stand on, you will eventually become strangers to your former sisters, and may even become enemies in the end. Ran cannot accept this ending, so he chose to withdraw early. You can say she is cowardly, or you can say she disdains intrigues with other angels, but in the end it is her own choice. The reason why she wanted to find the Queen and casually accepted the Queen's invitation was because she wanted to stay with the angel she was familiar with and close to. After all, except for this warmth, she no longer had any destination. After spending a few days playing in Dia World with Ran and several of his former subordinates, Binghua chose to separate from Ran and the others. Ran is very interested in the angels living in this star field, and plans to go and have a look with a few sisters as a holiday before official work. In fact, the arrival of several old subordinates such as Ran and Ming solved Binghua's urgent need. Her newly established judgment angel system finally had a backbone, and she no longer had to do everything herself. After all, the weight of several god-level angels is not light. If you pick any one of them, you can suppress a world alone. This is the weight of a god. Among them, Ran is the most powerful. As the second holy left-winger, a genuine third-generation god, an existence that can touch Binghua, he can be regarded as the angel's combat power. Now the status and strength of angels in the world of justice are not too bad, after all, they are their own race. Moreover, it can also stimulate some people in the world of justice who think they are extremely powerful, letting them know that there are people outside the world, and there is a sky outside the world, which will save them from losing the motivation to move forward. But unfortunately, Binghua's leisurely life had not calmed down for a few days when Kaza, who purified the star field, sent her bad news. "Queen, I'm having some trouble here, and I can't stand it anymore." While Kaza was communicating with his queen, he did not forget to take a glance at the 2 purifier fleets outside the atmosphere, 20 purifier sequence mechanical warriors, and 2 destroyer sequences who seemed not to be trifled with. Mechanical warrior. As for why Kaza can distinguish the various levels of troops of the Eternal Ascended One, it is because he deliberately learned this knowledge when he was in the justice world. Precisely because of this knowledge, he immediately asked the queen for help, because one of his angels really couldn't handle this level of Eternal Ascended troops, let alone protect the ordinary angel residents on this planet. How much trouble? Are you a god? It's not like you were half-hearted like before. There's nothing in the entire known universe that can threaten you. So you have to learn to solve problems yourself. Binghua replied casually, not taking Kaza's words seriously, thinking it was just a minor problem. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 701. Queen, it's not that I don't solve the problem myself, it's because I'm not capable enough to solve it. Your loyal subordinates are now blocked on a planet by several Eternal Ascended fleets, and there are also several mechanical warriors like the queen you destroyed last time. Binghua was a little surprised when he heard this. Did Kaza stab the Eternal Ascended One in the butt? But she also knew that if it was as Kaza said, he might not be able to handle it alone, even with the angels who purify the star field. I understand, hold on for a while and I will arrange support for you immediately. Queen, you must be quick. You know my strength. If you are late, you will only see my body. Binghua ignored Kaza's subsequent shouting and hung up the communication. After thinking for a few seconds, Binghua directly contacted the Military Affairs Department of the God's Throne World. Is it the Ministry of Military Affairs? Mobilize the 3 destruction-class fleets and the 3 demigod legions closest to the Gate of Time and Space to form a joint fleet to pass through the Gate of Time and Space to support our warriors performing missions outside. The enemy is the Eternal Ascended Fleet Group, so prepare the supporting fleets to engage the enemy. After saying that, Binghua hung up the communication. Her orders were supreme in the world of gods, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs could not hinder her orders. Of course, only she had this authority. After receiving Binghua's order, the Military Affairs Office immediately took action, first recruiting 3 destruction-class fleets that were on patrol missions. A destruction-class fleet consists of 1 destruction-class battleship and 3 destruction-class ships, which carry the most elite divine guards and a large number of air and space fighters. Of course, these are not the only supporting troops. There are also the demigod legions and their legion flagships and attached battleships. Its scale is not small anymore. In Binghua's expectation, this is only the first wave of rapid support troops. It will take time to prepare to assemble a larger force and use the destruction-class warships. But judging from the eager look in Kazah's communication, it was obvious that he couldn't wait too long. After contacting the Ministry of Military Affairs, Binghua once again contacted Ran, Ming, Ziluo, Zio, etc. who had become judgment angels. Ran, I have a mission here that requires you to go with Ming, Ziluo, and Zio. As you know, the opponent is the Eternal Ascended One who once invaded Angel Nebula. Understood, Queen. Ran agreed directly without refusing. During this period, she lived quite well in the world of justice. Although the people here respected her, they did not worship her as a god. This makes Ran's experience particularly interesting. At least she can truly experience life in the world of justice, instead of just observing everything from a god's perspective like she did in the Merlot heaven. Therefore, Ran was very happy to contribute his meager strength to this world that he was quite satisfied with, and Ming, Ziluo, Zio and other angels did not refuse. Kazah, who is far away in the Purification Star territory, is not in a good situation at the moment. He is not exaggerating. If he encounters a large army of Eternal Ascended Ones alone, if he can't defeat them, he can just pat his butt and leave. If he can't afford to offend him, why can't he hide from them? But it was different now. The Eternal Ascended One seemed to have set up a trap specifically for him. He took advantage of his contact with the angel settlement on the planet and successfully persuaded them to join the righteous world before suddenly appearing. If Kazah had been in the past, he might have simply run away, but it was different now. For some reason, some of the words that Queen Binghua once said kept echoing in his mind. After all, you are my kinsman. It is impossible for me to turn a blind eye to your situation. As a strong man, is there anything strange about protecting the weak? Or do you think the strong should do whatever they want? If this were the case, this universe would be too boring. Don't you think it's an inexplicable sense of accomplishment to watch those weak people who can't survive, thrive, and create prosperous and dazzling worlds with your own help? In short, there were many similar words. Although he stayed with the queen for a short time, this did not prevent Kazah from keeping these words in his heart. Because his tribe and sister were rescued by the queen when they were being hunted and had no hope of escaping. So now that he is facing a similar situation to the queen, can he escape? Moreover, those angels have agreed to join the world of justice and are already the queen's subjects. As the future male angel legion leader under the queen, if I escape, I am afraid that I will not be able to stand beside the queen with my head held high in the future. Thinking about this, Kazah finally paid the price of being distracted on the battlefield. The Destroyer 103 Special Melee type suddenly accelerated and closed the distance. The restrained arm blade of light in his hand stabbed Kazah in the face. Kazah tilted his head intentionally and narrowly avoided the blow. But a fierce and accurate sniper beam passed through the Destroyer 103 and bombarded Kazah's chest. The burst of scorching energy blasted Kazah immediately. The Destroyer 105, which was holding a large structural armed firearm thousands of meters away, moved the muzzle slightly and fired again. Kazah, who was blown away by the explosion, barely managed to stabilize his floating body. Seeing several more beams of light coming at him, he quickly moved his body to avoid it. However, the beam fired by the Destroyer 105 is not simple. It is a blockade-type shot. The amount of advance that Kazah may make to dodge has been calculated in advance. Seeing that he couldn't dodge, Kazah used the big sword in his hand as a shield to block. At that moment, Destroyer 103 rushed over and slashed out mercilessly with the energy sword in his hand. Kazah couldn't move at all at this moment. He was sent flying by a sword, and there was a hole in his armor. If it weren't for this armor, Kazah felt that he would definitely have an extra wound on his body. It wasn't until he actually fought against the mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence that Kazaa knew how powerful they really were. The output is comparable to that of a god's body, the solid alloy body, and the powerful energy field defense allow these mechanical warriors to adapt to a variety of combat environments. Of course, they are not without any weaknesses, that is, these powerful mechanical warriors lack the means to cause fatal damage to the divine body, so they can only grind slowly. This is also the reason why Kazaa has been entangled with these two for so long and has not been injured. However, Kazaa is a little worried about the angels in the planet. Even though the Eternal Ascended Ones did not pay attention to them because of his existence, Kazaa was under the trap of throwing rats and could only delay time. He could not fight to the death with all his strength, nor did he dare to run away directly and escape from the battle circle. In fact, the Eternal Ascended One is collecting Kazaa's divine body data. The reason why the surrounding purification fleet and the mechanical warriors of the purifier sequence did not take action to destroy the angels on the planet is just to prevent Kazaa from escaping. In addition, the remaining 3 mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence scattered in the purifying star field are already rushing here. Their goal is to capture Kazaa, a powerful angel warrior, and completely decipher the powerful secrets of the divine body in order to create a weapon powerful enough to destroy weapons of this substance. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 702. While Kazaa and the 2 mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence were entangled in the universe, the angels on the planet behind him had already begun to evacuate from the back of the planet. As for Kazaa, an outsider who came forward, they initially didn't care about Kazaa's idea of a just world. They only agreed because of his strong power. But at this moment, they no longer thought so in their hearts. After all, they could risk their lives to stop those evil intelligent machines for the sake of strange angels they had only known for a few days. Kazaa's character is evident, so it no longer matters whether the queen he described is great and kind. They are really looking forward to their life after joining the world of justice, but they are more worried about Kazaa's ability than this. Survive. As the battle with the destroyers lasted longer and longer, Kazaa felt that the fighting was getting more and more uncomfortable. Every move he made and his subconscious dodges made the destroyers seem to predict the future. The armor that was originally as clean as new is now covered with criss-crossing cuts and melting marks after the energy explosion. These are the masterpieces of Destroyer 103 and 105. The reinforcements haven't arrived yet. If you don't run, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape in a while. While Kazaa was having a fierce inner struggle, 3 shining points of light suddenly lit up in the distant starry sky, and then quickly approached the battlefield. After Kazaa saw clearly what the light spot was, his heart sank suddenly, because it turned out to be the same destroyer sequence of mechanical warriors that besieged him, and 3 of them came at once. Destroyer 104, 106, and 107 have arrived at the target location and will now perform the capture mission together with 103 and 105. Target combat data has been uploaded. Several mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence began to exchange information with each other and formed a combat formation to share target information and combat data. For just a moment, in the eyes of the 3 new mechanical warriors, Kazaa was no different from being naked. Immediately, without giving Kazaa a chance to breathe, 5 mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence swarmed forward. The sniper type 105 set up its sniper stance in the distance, and the 104 fire support type stopped not far from Kazaa. The somewhat bloated body armor suddenly unfolded, and the flying wings behind it also separated from the connection. In a moment, 10 large-scale the armed structure was constructed, and its deep muzzle was not easy to mess with. Because the 107 is a reconnaissance type, it is not heavily armed, but its mobility is extremely powerful and it can quickly approach from the side. As a stealth assassin, 106 disappeared into the universe when he started attacking. Kazaa couldn't find him even when he looked around. As a specialized melee type, 103 has the strongest instantaneous power and strong protective armor in the same series. Coupled with a purification force field, it naturally assumes the task of frontal attack. Holding the energy giant's sword in hand, the flames from the flying wings nozzle behind him instantly became brighter, and his speed suddenly increased, quickly approaching Kazah's direction. Kazah didn't want to have a head-on confrontation with this big guy. It would be troublesome to get entangled, so he immediately distanced himself to the right, while also avoiding being penetrated by the 107 reconnaissance type from the left. But then Kazah realized that he was overthinking it. Several purifying beams passed by his right side. The fiery energy impacted the space and slightly distorted it. It was different from the beams fired by the previous sniper type. If he was hit, it would not be as simple as just leaving a scorch mark on the armor, but at the moment when Kazah paused, the sniper beam of the sniper type 105 also arrived. This time it was not the previous diversionary shot. The power was several times greater than before. Kazah was directly knocked away, and his stable flying posture was broken. Naturally, 103 would not miss this good opportunity. He accelerated his charge and hit Kazah, who could not dodge with a heavy blow. With a burst of energy shock, Kazah flew upside down even faster. The destroyers followed one after another. In the blink of an eye, Kazah was slowly forced out of the atmosphere of the planet behind him, accompanied by 103's pursuit and 107's harassment attacks. Kazah was struck into the atmosphere by 103's sword and fell to the ground like a meteorite. "You want to force me to enter the atmosphere, this is really not good." Kazah roared in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. There were too many opponents and there were no loopholes. He felt like a fish trapped in a fishing net with nowhere to escape. When he was still hundreds of meters away from the ground, Kazah struggled to escape the acceleration of his fall and jumped towards the mountainous area with complex terrain ahead. But before Kazah could enter the mountainous area, several purification beams with a diameter of nearly 100 meters dropped from the sky. Terrifying explosions and shock waves interrupted Kazah's intentions. At this time, the destroyers also came from the universe into the atmosphere and once again completed the encirclement of Kazah. "I'm warning you, don't force me." Kazah took a deep breath. The angels on the planet had completed their evacuation. He had received this message just now. None of the destroyers who surrounded Kazah answered the question. They just re-implemented their previous tactics in the universe to suppress Kazah and kept trying to capture him. However, as a pseudo-second-generation god, Kazah is not as powerful as the second-generation god who has stepped up normally, but his computing power and strength cannot be underestimated. I have long remembered this tactic of the destroyer in my mind, and have been constantly calculating and looking for ways to crack it. Seeing 103 repeating his old tricks and rushing to suppress him, Kazah did not choose to dodge this time, and the sword in his hand suddenly lit up with fiery red energy. With a deafening explosion, a ring of shock waves swept away in all directions, and Kazah was inevitably dragged back. At this time, 107, who had been harassing him, came up. Kazah reached out and grabbed the energy sword thrust by 107. The sword in the dark energy cutting state in his right hand was pointed at his neck, which was only protected by two thin pieces of armor. "Peel away." Unexpectedly, the emergency jet on 107's side suddenly increased its thrust and forcibly changed his movements, causing Kazah's sword to miss. Seeing this, Kazah couldn't help but curse in his heart. He forgot that the movements of the mechanical warrior could not be measured by common sense, and the opponent did not need to follow the normal laws of physics. Seeing that he could not seriously injure 107, Kazah kept doing nothing. He grabbed 107's weapon and tried to throw him to the ground. Unexpectedly, 107 immediately let go of the weapon, turned around in the air and pulled out a new weapon from his back, and slashed twice at Kazah's chest, leaving two hideous cuts that almost cut open the armor. Before Kazaa could make any other moves, the Destroyer 106 assassination type, which had disappeared from the beginning, approached his back at some point, and its metal arm bent and hooked directly around his neck. The White Angel wings were also attacked, releasing bursts of energy particles. Kazaa was unable to maintain flight and fell towards the ground. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 703. With a roar, Destroyer 106 pulled Kazaa and smashed a long ravine into the ground. However, 106 did not let go and still tightly hooked Kazaa's neck with his own arm. The other mechanical arm also pinned Kazaa. The right arm of the sword. Kazaa's eyes were wide open, and veins were visible on his forehead. He raised his right arm pinned by Destroyer 106 and tried to stab Destroyer 106 on the left side of his back with his big sword. At this moment, a figure struck in the sky, and the energy edge of the giant sword slashed at Kazaa's right arm holding the sword. Seeing this, Kazaa moved his wrist slightly to adjust the angle of the sword, blocking it in front of 103/giant sword. The left hand used to pull the mechanical arm hooked around his neck could only be released, and was used to support his weapon to resist 103's attack. The next moment, a burst of explosive impact swept around, and as the flying dust gradually dispersed, Kazaa's embarrassed appearance was revealed. Destroyer 103 pressed down on his weapon little by little, and Kazaa could only watch the energy sword edge slowly close to his body. The mechanical arm of Destroyer 106 behind him that pinned his right arm was making an overwhelmed metal twisting sound, and he could break free with just a little more force. But 103 is constantly increasing its power, and is about to cut the weapon on Kazaa's body. This is a competition between the mechanical and divine bodies. It depends on who is better, but it is obvious that one of them is at an absolute disadvantage. And what makes the situation even more serious is that the two destroyers around Kazaa are not the only ones. The repelled Destroyer 107 attacks again at this moment, and the energy sword in his hand stabs Kazaa, who cannot move, in the face. Kazaa tilted his head subconsciously, and then let out a scream. His eye socket was cut with an oblique wound by the energy sword. Although it was just a skin injury, the most serious thing was that Kazaa's right eye was temporarily plunged into darkness. Destroyer 107, whose thrust failed, was about to turn back when suddenly there was a rumble in the sky, followed immediately by a torrent of blue thunder and lightning, which seemed to have locked onto him, pouring all over him. Destroyer 103, who was still trying to press down the weapon, was kicked out by a sudden and sharp flying kick. Kazaa, who lost the maximum pressure, instantly broke free from the grip of Destroyer 106 behind him. Without waiting for him to escape, Kazaa stood up and jumped on top of him. He roared and stabbed down the sword with dark energy cutting mode in his hand. Destroyer 106 kept struggling, but Kazaa's power was not something he could break away from as he was specialized in stealth. With almost no resistance, a sword penetrated his chest, destroying the energy reactor. After doing this, Kazaa looked into the air. What caught his sight were four heroic figures standing in the air. They were wearing silver armor that was very similar to the Queen's style, and the lining was bright red. Among them, the one who caught his eye the most was an angel with long golden hair hanging down on her chest, vaguely revealing her slender white neck. Kazaa noticed that there seemed to be lightning dancing in her blue eyes. Of course, the other three female angels with the same style of armor and helmets are not weak. Although they are not as majestic as the one just now, Kazaa can sense that they are also existences that his genetic engine cannot analyze. In other words, at least they are angels of the same level as themselves, also known as gods. Are you the Kazaa that the Queen said? Yes, I am. Are you the reinforcements sent by Queen Hiawa? Ran nodded and then praised. Although you are a male angel, I still want to praise you. Your fighting will is worthy of recognition. It is your persistence that makes our support meaningful. Ran gave a rare word of approval. You are somewhat different from the male angels I know. I admit that you are qualified to be a subordinate of the Queen. Ming was quite satisfied with Kaza's performance. At least he didn't leave the angels behind him and run away alone. If they had arrived just a little bit late, they might have only seen Kaza, who was missing arms and legs. While several angels were chatting briefly, the universe relayed a small space-time gate and suddenly opened a large space-time gate. The large supporting force rushed out in the blink of an eye, and a large fleet appeared next to the Purifier fleet. As soon as they came up, the demigod army launched many assault ships and rushed towards the Purifiers. The Purifier's shield only held up for a moment before it was broken through by small assault ships loaded with energy-breaking rams. Then, these small assault ships were like daggers, inserted into the weak points of its hull armor. The demigod warriors carried inside immediately broke into the Purifier's hull and began to destroy it wildly in an attempt to paralyze the Eternal Ascended's command hub. The Destruction-class battleships and the flagship of the Demigod Legion used themselves as bunkers to cover the assault ships' assault operations against the Purifiers. The remaining Destruction-class battleships found the Annihilator battleships in the Purifier fleet and began to entangle each other. Fight. The fight was fierce in the universe, and it was not much different on the ground. After Ran and several female angels chatted with Kaza, they all found a destroyer and started fighting directly. But Kaza could only obey Ran's order and prepare to run into the universe to support the support fleet of the Justice World. Are you the mechanical warrior in the destroyer sequence that the Queen said is comparable to the god of war? Why do you want to slaughter us angels? Tell me the reason and I might be able to give you a good time. Seeing that the destroyer 107 on the opposite side did not respond, Ran Qing frowned, and blue thunder surged around him and exploded with a roar. Based on the reverse engineering of the remains of your kind, you should have pseudo-personalities. What? Aren't you going to answer my question? Facing Angel Ran, who pointed his thunder sword at him, Destroyer 107 was silent for a while before answering intermittently in angel language. The angels are getting in the way of our purification and must be cleared. Every obstacle must be eliminated. It seems that you are very confident in your own strength, right? But I just don't know if your strength is worthy of your big words. After speaking, Angel Ran didn't wait for Destroyer 107 to reply, and rushed directly towards the opponent, dragging out endless thunder and lightning behind him. Seeing this, Destroyer 107 immediately retreated quickly. Unexpectedly, Angel Ran's speed was not comparable to that of Kaza before, and he rushed to him in the blink of an eye. The silver sword carrying the power of thunder slashed hard at the chest armor of Destroyer 107, breaking through the outer armor in an instant, and then the energy stirred up turned into winding lightning in the air. The Destroyer 107 machine body, which had withstood all this, was directly paralyzed and plummeted downwards with green smoke. Seeing this, Ran gently waved his hand and hit the thunder sword, and a thunder slash with distinctive personal characteristics flew out, hit the falling Destroyer 107, and smashed it into the ground. It seems that your tone is not worthy of your own strength, and you are simply vulnerable. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 704. Ran was the first to finish. Ming, Ziluo and Zia were not far behind. The Destroyer 104 fire support type that Ming Zun chose seemed to have very high defense. It had continuous powerful firepower, thick armor, and a purifying energy field. It could be said that it was like a turtle shell. But he has a fatal flaw, that is, his mobility and flexibility. Compared with several other models of destroyers, he is undoubtedly bulky. Therefore, Ming easily cut the structural weapons of Destroyer 104 into several sections one by one with the flaming sword, and then released a flaming bombardment close to his body, breaking through the upper limit of defense of its purifying energy field and destroying it. Zio and Ziluo couldn't compare with Ran and Ming, and they couldn't deal with the destroyer so quickly. Ziluo encountered the only melee specialized Type 103 in the destroyer series. As a specialized melee weapon, the Destroyer 103 eliminates redundant weapons and only retains the micro-ray gun on the wrist for harassment. But at the same time, it also gained good armor strength, the strongest skeleton system, as well as micro-nozzles located in every corner of the body, the strongest output of the same series, and the purification energy field module. This makes the Destroyer 103 capable of meeting any combat needs except long-range fire support. Of course, it cannot be compared with specialized combat models. Ziluo's fighting style is also unique. Compared with her good swordsmanship, she is more talented in unarmed attacks, so she specially developed a set of energy-driven algorithms that suit her own fighting style. Every time she swings her fist, it will form an energy concussion impact, which can quickly destroy the shield and the special cells of the super soldier, and can easily severely damage her enemies. However, when encountering the destroyer with a metal body, Ziluo's fists were greatly reduced in effectiveness. Therefore, the fight with Destroyer 103 was back and forth and extremely intense, but overall, he still had the absolute upper hand, because Destroyer 103 could not touch him at all. Without her, he can only be beaten unilaterally. Zio's opponent is the sniper Destroyer 105. Accurate sniping is not a big threat to Zio. As a god-level angel, predicting the enemy's attack trajectory is basic common sense. Unless the straight-line orbital attack is dense and there is no room to dodge, specially trained super soldiers like Angel will not be hit at all. What would happen if the sniper Type 103 was approached by a god-level angel warrior who had experienced many battles? It was obvious that the weapon was destroyed on the spot. The Destroyer 103, which was only outstanding in calculation and had mediocre performance in other aspects, could not escape being attacked by 11. The fate of being split into 8 pieces. Naturally, Angel Ran Sanyu, who had solved her opponent, would not just watch from the sidelines. After helping 11 Luo quickly solve 103, she quickly headed into the universe, preparing to support the fleet of the Justice World. When Binghua, who was in the God's Throne world, received the news again, the situation of the battle was basically clear, and the Purification Fleet and the Destroyer Sequence mechanical warriors were all wiped out. The support force achieved its strategic goal and successfully rescued Angel Kaza, as well as thousands of Angel civilians and a small number of male and female Angel warriors. Today, the number of angels in the world of justice is close to 100,000, and of course most of them are ordinary angels who have not received combat training. Binghua has no intention of forcing them, but will silently guide the new generation of angels to receive complete combat and knowledge training. He does not expect them to go to the battlefield to kill enemies. At least they will not be bullied by cats or dogs when they encounter danger. Moreover, Zhu Binghua received the news from Ran that the Mellow Heavenly Court has already begun to transform all people into second-generation super warriors, which means that both angel civilians and angel warriors will start from the second-generation super warriors at least in the future. As soon as he is born, he will get everything that an ordinary top soldier of a god-making civilization has. He can ignore most harmful radiation and ordinary firearms and energy weapons, and he has the power and body to fly through the stars in the universe at will. The world of justice is still far from the goal of Merlot Heaven, but Binghua has done nothing. She has long begun to promote transformation technology, which can allow the residents of the justice world who work in some dangerous and harsh environments to obtain a powerful body, although it cannot be compared with super soldiers. Binghua has been experimenting since then, and has achieved certain results by simplifying super soldier technology. Coupled with some transformation techniques in mechanical engineering, it can achieve effects similar to super soldiers. Of course, there are also some shortcomings, that is, physical strength. Strictly speaking, starting from the second generation of super soldiers, the bodies of super soldiers have been completely different from those of flesh and blood. After all, ordinary flesh and blood cannot resist the energy burning of energy weapons and the terrifying penetrating potential energy of kinetic energy weapons. The transformed warriors created using Binghua's model are still flesh and blood, but possess some of the properties of super warriors. They will be injured, they will bleed, and they will be weakened by the impact on their internal organs. It cannot ignore the damage caused to the body by the vacuum environment of the universe, nor can it resist the attacks of powerful kinetic energy weapons and energy weapons. But it has an advantage. It costs far less than super gene enhancement, and it is easier to popularize on a large scale than super warrior technology. It has strong versatility. Binghua took a fancy to this. Faced with the failure of the capture plan, the Semi-Lo host also took on 5 destroyer sequence mechanical warriors. Some advanced intelligence within the Eternal Ascender could no longer sit back and watch the Justice World continue to grow. Although conflict with the Justice World does not make any sense in their calculations, it is obvious that the Justice World will hinder their actions to purify the Chaos Virus. Although the Chaos Virus cannot be completely eliminated, it has been restricted in the Chaos Star Sea by the Eternal Ascended Ones, with no hope of expansion, because whenever there are signs of Chaos Virus infection in other star fields, it will be extinguished by the Eternal Ascending Ones with thunderous force. Even if this will cause countless deaths and injuries, in the eyes of these intelligent beings, it is worth it. Moreover, Semi-Lo has figured out a way to prevent intelligent life from being infected by the Chaos Virus, which is to undergo eternal sublimation and turn flesh and blood into cold machines, so that they no longer have to fear the threat of the virus. However, this method does not seem to be very popular with those fragile intelligent beings, but the eternal sublimators never consider other people's attitudes, they will only do what they think is right. But now there is a civilization that refuses eternal sublimation and destroys high-sequence combat units time and time again. This has to make the eternal sublimators consider whether to eliminate this obstacle. Previously, the existences in the front ranks of the destroyers chose to shelve this issue for the time being, but now the world of justice makes them feel threatened. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 705. The most important location of the Justice World is in the Chaos Star Sea. According to Semi-Lo's calculations, if the Justice World continues to hinder their purification operations in the future, the Righteous World is likely to become a breakthrough for the Chaos Virus to escape their restrictions, which is something the Eternal Ascended cannot tolerate. After all, once such a large-scale dense biological civilization gathering area is swallowed by the Chaos Virus, there is no telling what terrifying monsters will be created, and the world of justice has already revealed their powerful technology in biological transformation. Nearly 10,000 years ago, the Chaos Virus obtained the angel's body genetic template, and the consequences of this have not been forgotten by the destroyer sequences to this day. The mimic angels that were copied in batches took a long time to be killed by the Eternal Ascended Ones. They were the most difficult existences to deal with except for the Chaos Behemoths and Chaos Lords among the Chaos Viruses. Unlike the angel civilization in another star sea, their number is limited, and the Eternal Ascended Ones can completely ignore them, but the Chaos Angels can appear in batches, endlessly. According to the results obtained by the Semi-Lo host, the purification protocol for the world of justice has been passed. The executors of various purification protocols, from now on the world of justice will also be within the scope of your purification. Destroyer 01 informed the other destroyers of Semiro's calculation results, and no high-sequence destroyer raised any objections. Although they have some emotions similar to intelligent life, in the face of the calculation results of Semiro's host, these emotions are nothing. After deciding to purify the world of justice, in order to fight against the powerful vanguard warriors of the world of justice, Semialo finally achieved the balance between mass production and performance through combat data of 103 to 107 for destroyers and angels. Under the destroyer sequence, a new combat sequence called Destroyer appeared in Semiaro's system. Although their performance was not as good as the most outstanding number 102 and the specialized number 103. But Shen is relatively balanced in all aspects, and can cooperate with each other to fight without any fatal shortcomings. Although it may not be possible to defeat their prototype one-on-one, the existence of the destroyer sequence. But it will not be destroyed easily. The purification energy field, a difficult defensive force field, has become a reference for Semialo to create a new generation of mechanical warriors. When the Eternal Ascended Ones began to shift their strategic direction, the world of justice was not idle either. The new generation of transformation warrior technology began to become popular. The demigod armor had completed large-scale mass production and began to spread among all elite legions. Compared with the power armor initially equipped by the elite legion, the demigod armor has many more seemingly plain and simple functions. The first is rechargeable armor and the latest life support system. The most important armor output has also been much improved compared to the previous powered armor, and there is also the standard Fan Shenjian. This melee weapon that can explode to a temperature of hundreds of thousands of degrees in an instant is a nightmare for all enemies. Its prototype is the dark energy cutting of the flaming sword. Although it cannot maintain this effect for as long as the flaming sword, it is enough as long as it can be maintained for a short period of time. Often the fight between life and death occurs within this short period of time. Then there was the immortal project of Fanshan World, which was considered a large-scale war weapon. Binghua took a look at it and found that, apart from being not flexible enough, it was considered a valuable toy. Of course, this is relative to her. For ordinary civilizations, it can be called a world-destroying weapon. Unless large-scale energy weapons are used, it will be a scrape for the immortals. The other is the innovation of standard weapons. The justice world has been doing this over the years, from electromagnetic weapons at the beginning to the latest generation of blaster weapons. A blaster weapon is actually an upgrade of a blaster. The material filled in its bullets changes from high-energy crystals to nearly solid high-energy ions. Its structure has also become more complicated. If Binghua hadn't obtained the strange technology of matter printer from the Devourer God, and combined with the mass energy conversion researched by Instructor Wu and Angel's molecular synthesizer technology, he had created an energy matter printer. Come out. It would be unthinkable for the just world to develop its technology and production capabilities to the scale it is today over thousands of years, let alone install such special ammunition, which is extremely difficult to produce. If there is a firepower advantage, even the second-generation angel will be angry on the spot. The power of this kind of bullet is so powerful. It is different from the special characteristics of the god-killing armor-piercing bullet, which is to overwhelm people with force. Even if the power is a bit excessive for ordinary enemies, if the opponent is the Chaos Virus and the Eternal Ascended One, it will only be enough. After Kaza and the supporting troops returned to the world of justice, they entered the Stellar Ring Research Institute in the God's Throne world to repair the damage to the god's body during the war. However, Kaza looked more imposing with this appearance and chose to keep the special sword mark on the right eye of his face. Binghua was a little speechless about this, but still respected his opinion and shrugged and agreed. While Hyuka was in peace, the battle for the recovery of El Rals began. New Alals mobilized 5 Eternal Guard legions, 50 armies of the El Rals Defense Force, and all expeditions. Fleet, trying to regain Alals in one battle. The Eternal Ascended One is not blind, so he naturally discovered this huge army, because Semialo also included the world of justice in his purification scope. All the purification fleets wandering in the star field near Eloras began to gather towards Eloras. For a time, Elora's changed from an insignificant planet to a strategic location for the Eternal Ascended. The number of purifier fleets gathered here reached 8 in a short period of time, and they also carried various numbers of Annihilator sequence mechanical warriors. Chi has no intention of backing down from this. Today's Arils are no longer what they used to be. They are no longer the weaklings who could only abandon their homes and run away thousands of years ago. They have weapons in their hands that can kill their enemies. The two sides first launched a fleet battle. The Alal's fleet and the Purifier fleet, equipped with space-time shields, fired fiercely at each other. At the same time, they did not forget to send assault ships to use energy-braking angles to break into the Purifier warships. In the end, the battle lasted for several days, during which the Purifiers continued to receive fleet support. However, the Alal's people led by Chi refused to retreat and paid a huge price to defeat the Purifier fleet in the universe. Immediately after launching the landing troops, they prepared to clear out the Eternal Ascended ones on the ground. Facing their own absolute disadvantage, those eliminators had almost had their consciousness wiped out over a long period of time. All that was left was to obey the high sequence and kill all the enemies. The command. But it was useless in the face of the absolute firepower and tactics of the Alal's people. The metal body was penetrated by the ion armor-piercing projectile fired from the blaster, and the high temperature of the burst of ion flow directly melted through their internal structure. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 706. After Qi regained Alal's, he did not immediately start the construction of the planet. Instead, he prioritized the construction of comprehensive orbital defense facilities and space-time shield systems. Binghua didn't pay too much attention to this. The scale of the justice world was already quite large. It was impossible for her to interfere with all the projects and activities carried out in thousands of worlds. Only some actions or decisions with a relatively huge impact will be reported to her. This is why Binghua is eager to implement the Judgment Angel system. Binghua is not worried about the governance of the world. With Tianjian's database and calculation assistance, most things will be exposed to the light, and there will only be a small amount of darkness that needs someone to supervise. However, after listening to Tianjian's report on this day, Binghua was preparing to conduct his own routine research when Tianjian suddenly spoke up. "Queen, there is a powerful angel approaching the God's throne world. I have not received the angel's arrival application. Do you want to activate the God's throne world's defense system?" There was a faint glimmer in Tianjian's red eyes, and he had obviously entered the calculation mode. "Can we scan who is coming?" "Sorry, Queen. The result cannot be scanned. The other party has more computing power than me, and I cannot crack its encryption method. Forget it, there's no need to continue scanning. I'll see who it is in person." In the world of God's throne, at the orbit of the outermost planet in the planetary system, Ice Flower is blocking the flight path of the unknown angel. He looks directly into the dark space, where a white stream of light is speeding towards him. But soon after Binghua saw clearly what it was, her eyes widened slightly, her lips parted slightly, and she was extremely surprised. The person who came was obviously beyond her expectation. "Queen Kessa. Why are you here?" "What? My once holy left wing settled here, can't I come and have a look?" Kesha left the flying state and stopped not far in front of Binghua. She was still wearing the common Angel King armor. This has almost become Binghua's only impression of Kesha over the years. "Won't you invite me to sit in your new royal court?" Kesha saw Binghua's reaction and said with a smile. Binghua reacted and quickly reached out to invite Kesha to the God's throne world. Between the thrones, on Binghua's favorite platform outside the hall, two beautiful women with rare looks in the world were sitting on both sides of the small table. It was Binghua and Kesha. Compared with when she was in the Merlot Heavenly Court, Kesha was not wearing makeup at this moment, and her brows were a little less majestic and more feminine, and a little more feminine. Compared to the king of angels, she looks more like an ordinary female angel. In fact, Binghua once asked Keisha why she wears makeup. Angel's appearance is inherently beautiful, but wearing makeup will make her look worse than before. Kesha's answer to this is that being too weak as the king of angels is not a good thing. This will make some people want to bully you. It's so beautiful. The world you created, although there are dangers here that are not found in the known universe. But it seems quite nice that everyone can live together peacefully like this. Kesha looked at the bustling city below and the three-dimensional transportation network with constant flow of people. It was all so orderly, so harmonious, and so lively. Compared with the vastness and desertedness of Merlot Heaven, the scenery here has a unique flavor, which makes Kesha not want to just look away. I just try my best to bring their strength together so that they can survive in this cruel starry sky. Binghua picked up the wine in her glass and took a sip. She rarely drank. The reason why she drank today was Kesha's request, which was rare. Binghua understood that Kesha did not come to her on a whim to reminisce about the past. She was definitely holding something back in her heart, and the truth was as Binghua expected. After drinking several glasses of wine in small sips, Kesha slowly exhaled a breath, looked at the remaining crystal liquid in the transparent cup, and said slowly, "Sometimes being drunk or not is not entirely a good thing. Queen Kesha." Kesha put down her wine glass and said a little embarrassedly, "I made you laugh. How do you feel when you see your former queen like this? What happened in Merlot Heaven recently? I haven't paid attention to the news of the known universe for a long time." Binghua did not answer Kesha's question, but asked about the situation of the known universe. "I won't talk about what happened before Ran left, you should understand it from her mouth. Elan succeeded you as the third holy left wing. Although he cannot compare with you, it is enough to maintain justice and order. But not long ago, the demon appeared again. Morgana was not dead. She led the demon to come back. Elan fell and died for justice and order. She didn't have to die. Liangbing didn't have any means to destroy her, but for the sake of the lives of her angel warriors, Elan chose to take the initiative to burn herself. Originally, I thought that the justice of angels was just a goal I found for angels to strive for, but now Elan has fallen for her, and so have the angels before Elan." Kesha held the wine glass and looked down at the lights and bustling streets and high-rise buildings below. Her voice lacked the firmness of the past and was instead a little deeper. "Sister Kesha, you have made justice your symbol, and given the responsibility of maintaining and executing it to the angel civilization. This will certainly make angels the saviors in the eyes of most ordinary civilizations, giving angels an unparalleled status. But justice needs to be maintained, and maintaining her requires paying a price. This price will increase over time, because the opposite of justice is evil, which will become stronger and stronger with justice. Even if there are no demons, there might be other red demons, purple demons, and the like." Binghua expressed her thoughts and felt a little sad for Elan's death. Although the relationship between them was not close, they could be called sisters. "How could I not know what you said, but now I have no way out. If I give up on the justice that I have always insisted on, then everything that the angels who sacrificed for it will be meaningless." Kesha put down her wine glass and looked at Binghua. "I remember that you once had a subordinate named Yinga who believed in justice and order. In order to save Wu Hengren, whom she had never met before, she chose to burn everything she had and also convey the location information of Wu Xingxing. Binghua, do you want to completely deny everything she has done?" Binghua didn't speak. How could she deny the choice made by her angels? It was a noble act to ignite despair and illuminate hope, and it was a great sacrifice. Although Binghua would feel sad and distressed for Yinga's death, he would not feel that Yinga's sacrifice was worthless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 707. Look. Their achievements cannot be erased. Even if my justice is flawed, I will stick to her until the end. I will let all civilizations in the known universe know that the justice of angels is indestructible. Kesha's words regained their firmness, and the previous depression was gone. Then Queen Kesha, what's the point of telling me this? Binghua stared at Kesha's eyes and said these words very seriously, because Kesha would not hesitate to risk leaving the Merlot heavenly court to come to her alone, and he would never just discuss the justice order with her. Flaws are as simple as that. Just as Kesha knew Binghua, Binghua also knew Kesha. The two had discussed the topic of justice countless times in the Merlot heavenly court. As expected, Binghua is more suitable to be my holy left-winger than you, because you can truly discuss the justice of angels with me. Of course I'm not here just to chat with you. After all, your and my time are precious. You need to protect the just world you established, and I also need to maintain my just order. Kesha stood up from her seat and took a few steps forward. Then she turned around and threw out a golden data ball composed of countless miniature sacred languages in her hand. Binghua reached out to catch it. This is. Binghua was a little surprised. She had already figured out what this huge group of data was. Alan and some fallen angels' dark plane data information. The data soul storage technology you provided is very powerful, and their souls are well preserved. However, I have already banned angel reincarnation technology, because it will make the justice of angels meaningless. Sometimes only sacrifice can make other civilizations see our angels' determination to stand up for what is right. Kesha's tone was very calm, with no ups and downs. So you just watch your good sisters fall one by one? Queen Kesha, I originally thought that you refused to promote this technology in Merlot Heaven just because of safety and other reasons. Didn't expect it to be so simple? Binghua also stood up from his seat, his voice becoming slightly colder than the calm tone at the beginning. Yes, these are the rules I have set for the just order, and I will not violate it. Life is a precious thing, but when precious things become no longer precious, then the world will become chaotic, and the same is true for angels. I don't want angels to become chaotic and free demons, and I believe you do the same. The atmosphere between Kesha and Binghua became more subtle. Their words were tit for tat, and their unconscious aura of letting go filled the air with a sense of oppression. So, it belongs to you. I just hope that when you reincarnate them, ask them if they are willing to pick up the weapons in their hands again and fight for justice. Kesha's words suddenly softened, which relaxed the oppressive atmosphere. After saying that, Kesha seemed to have achieved her purpose of coming to the world of justice this time. She turned around and faced the sky. The angel wings appeared behind her and spread out to block the light shining on Binghua. If one day my justice is destroyed by evil, then let the known universe know what your justice looks like. Of course, I don't think my justice will be destroyed by evil. Just think of it as a joke. After speaking, Kesha left the platform between the thrones and climbed straight up into the sky. She planned to leave directly, but Binghua did not stop her. She and Kesha no longer have the same relationship as superiors and subordinates and sisters who advance and retreat together as they did in Merlot Heaven. Both of them are now kings who have found their own future paths, and they both have their own ideals. Kesha left as suddenly as she came, and the only thing left behind was the data soul of the fallen angel. The storage technology used was exactly the same method that Binghua developed thousands of years ago. At that time, Binghua uploaded this technology into the database of Merlot Heaven, hoping that the angels could reduce the damage during the execution of justice. However, I didn't expect Kesha to be as stubborn as she was when she left. She didn't know how to adapt at all and still insisted on her few principles. Of course, the above are just Binghua's temporary thoughts. She didn't take Kesha's words as a joke when she finally left. When your justice is destroyed, Kesha, I will take up the banner of justice and never let it fall. I will let the known universe know that they are still not allowed to be unbridled under the banner of angels. Shortly after Kesha left, Chi, who regained El Rals, ushered in the return attack of the Eternal Ascended Ones, and sporadic purifier fleets have been attacking El Rals. This gave Chi an extremely headache. In order to solve this situation, the new Errol's world had to turn Errol's into a war fortress. The establishment of comprehensive orbital defense facilities began to accelerate, and the large-scale space-time shield system supporting the energy reactor was also transported from the God's throne world to the Alal's star. By mobilizing the world around Alal's and concentrating the manpower and material resources of several worlds, Alal's is turning into a war fortress at an incredible speed. Chi also intends to turn several planets around Alal's into war fortresses to form a dense planetary defense network to prevent any enemy attack. The Eternal Ascended One knew this very well, but he regarded Alal's as a target that he must conquer. This is the result of the Eternal Ascended's long-term war experience against the Kamigawa civilization. They found that after breaking through the proud defense lines or fortresses of the Kamigawa creatures, their armies would become a piece of loose sand. Quickly lose the will to resist. They did the same to the Justice world. The early Purifier fleet was just for reconnaissance, used to confirm the situation of Alal's, and also to attract the attention of the Justice world. And outside the Alal's planetary system, the jump beacons have been quietly arranged one by one at some point, and they are densely connected. When everything was ready and the jump beacon was activated, the terrifying energy fluctuations were immediately detected by the Eternal Guards stationed on Alal's. The Errol's fleet, which was patrolling inside the Errol's planetary system, immediately began to rush towards the place where the energy fluctuations emanated, preparing to investigate the cause of this terrifying energy fluctuation. Alal's, the Ground Orbital Defense Command Center. A huge computing terminal is set up here. This is the brain of the entire Alal's planet, controlling the operation of all smart weapons in Alal's. If this place is paralyzed, the defensive weapons and energy transfer on the entire Errol's planet will be thrown into chaos. Therefore, as the Queen of Errol's, Chi personally sits here. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 708. How is the situation? Why did the huge energy source appear? Chi walked into the conference room of the Orbital Defense Command Center. As soon as he sat down, a group of top commanders from the Alal's military also sat down. Queen, the fleet is already on its way to the target point. However, our detection system has detected a violent space jump reaction signal in the target area. After the commander-in-chief in charge of the investigation of Ellery's finished his report, he sat down again. I think this is most likely the work of the Eternal Ascended Ones. Their behavior recently has been very abnormal, and they are constantly attacking to harass us and attract our attention. With things like this happening around Ellers now, I have reason to suspect that this is the real thing they want to hide. The commander-in-chief of the Errol's Defense Force expressed his opinion. Now we have to first figure out what the Eternal Ascended One is doing. Only in this way can we respond. The commander-in-chief of the Errol's expedition fleet said slowly, with a calm and unhurried attitude. After that, several commanders from various fields expressed their opinions one after another, but they were of little reference value. What you all say makes sense, but the Eternal Ascended One is different from the enemies we have encountered before. The opponent is superior to us in terms of technology, quantity, and strength. So far, our understanding of him in the righteous world is still limited. This time we must not stumble in this regard. We must be careful and be ready to apply for reinforcements from other worlds and the God's throne world at any time. She looked at the subordinates present and said, it was not her intention to lose morale, because from the beginning of this war, she smelled something unusual. The Eternal Ascended Ones don't know why, but Alal's, who has been attacking without any benefit to them, never shows any signs of stopping. This is also the reason why Chi is constructing large-scale construction on this planet, otherwise she would not build such a large-scale orbital defense facility on a planet. Not to mention that this is the home planet of the Ilal's people. Everything is different from her original war goal of quickly regaining Ilals. It seemed that she had hit the muzzle of the Eternal Ascended One, which was why Chi was ready to call for help. In fact, the Eternal Ascended Ones did not give up their attack on Ilals. Unbeknownst to the Justice World, the Eternal Ascending Ones had officially included the Just World into their purification operations. Destroyer 011 has passed through the space jump array and is crossing the endless sea of stars, squeezing into the Ilal's planetary system little by little. When Ialo's fleet finally arrived outside the planetary system and saw the dense space warping array and the giant metallic planetary body that had squeezed out 1/3 of its size, it was already too late. Destroyer 011 can already release part of his power to form a force to protect himself. On the surface of the metal planet with horizontal and vertical grooves, the hidden turret bases began to appear, and the closed release gates also opened to both sides, revealing the internal passages. Immediately, shuttle-shaped aircraft of the Eliminator sequence rushed out from it, and in a moment, a silver cloud formed, wandering around the planet, gathering and dispersing. There is also a line of defense formed by the Purifier fleet on the outer periphery. The Ilal's fleet that came to investigate was discovered as soon as it approached. Like sharks smelling the scent, the Purifier fleet quickly moved closer. Seeing this, in order not to be completely annihilated here, the Ilal's fleet had no choice but to retreat, but they have completed their mission. Everything the Eternal Ascended Ones did outside the Ilal's planetary system has been transmitted back. Orbital Defense Command Center in Arils. The pictures sent back by the reconnaissance fleet made the senior officials of Arils at the Arils Orbital Defense Center fall into silence, because just from the pictures, they could feel the power of the enemy. The existence in the space jump gate has not completely revealed its full form, and its diameter is comparable to that of a small planet, which is a haze that weighs on everyone's hearts. Are you scared? Chi looked at the silent commanders of various departments. On his heroic and beautiful face, his beautiful eyebrows wrinkled slightly, but his voice was still the same as usual. Be afraid, there is nothing to say. When I led the people of Ilals to escape from here thousands of years ago, the situation was 10 times more desperate than it is now. At that time we did not have a fleet, we did not have today's advanced weapons and powerful army, but did we Ilal's people give up at that time? No. At that time, we Ilal's people chose to take up arms and try our best to repel the ground troops of the Eternal Ascended Ones. In the end, we sacrificed 1/3 of all Ilal's people in exchange for the opportunity to leave the homeland that gave birth to our Ilals. Only then will there be the new world of Ilals. Over the years, many Ilal's people have asked me, Queen, why does our world have a new word, why don't we get rid of it? But do you think it's possible? The voices of the dead souls of Elis have been echoing in my ears, telling me not to abandon them. So I endured it for thousands of years, until we became 100 times stronger than before, and then I led you back to the place where we were born. I will not retreat this time. We, Ilals, are no longer what they used to be. Behind us stands the Ice Flower Goddess, and there are more than 1,000 worlds that are united for survival. Chi stood up from his seat, pointed at the star map on the conference table and said, El Rals must not be given up. If the Eternal Ascended Ones break through here, there will no longer be such a good battlefield ahead. They can drive straight in and directly attack the interior of the Just World. When the time comes, the flames of war will burn on our compatriots, and countless people will die as a result. The scene was silent for a while before a commander spoke. The Blazing Queen is right. We all live under the protection of the righteous world and enjoy the stable and prosperous life she brings to us. I don't want my family to face the guns of these broken machines. The righteous world used to love us, and now it's our turn to protect the righteous world. A man who was quite old and strong and sitting on the left side of Chi spoke out, His eyes were calm and there was no sign of any fluctuations. Although I think the chances of winning this battle are slim, I am a soldier. My legion and I will fight until the last moment and will not let down the glory of Elleries. Chi felt the haze gradually fading in the conference room, and his frowning eyebrows finally relaxed a little. None of the high-ranking Ilal's military officials present chose to retreat or escape. Chi was proud of his own world and the soldiers under his command. She lived up to the expectations of the Ice Flower Goddess. She truly created an army that could fight to the death for a just world. Her world did not live up to the goddess's protection, and she chose to protect the world that the goddess had worked hard to build in the face of crisis.